Hey everyone, welcome back to the Flyin Lion Podcast. We're here tonight with a bunch of energy, Sam. We're pumped. FC Cincinnati is moving on in the MLS Cup playoffs. How are we feeling tonight, Sam?
Yeah, feeling good, feeling good. We're out of the first round. Another playoff dub in our history. It feels really good, especially against a team that we've done it again. So feels really, really good. Can't wait to kind of go over the game because there's so much within this game and coming after this game, and it's just there's a lot going on. So we got a lot to talk about.
There's a lot to unpack. You are not wrong. There's so many storylines, so many things that happened during the game, before the game, after the game, technically, too. And we'll kind of get to that as well. But it's crazy, man. You had just said we're through the first round, but I'm thinking we've already played two games. Like in other years, we'd be two rounds in and going into a third round right before MLS Cup finals. So it's crazy, where we sit right now. We won those games. That's all that matters. Like you mentioned, against a new forming rival, in New York Red Bulls. I think this was kind of building all throughout the year, but yeah, I'm just happy that we ended up winning this game. I was so freaked out. I think I lost some years off my life.
Yeah, touching on that playoff format, love it, right? We absolutely love it. But yeah, the energy towards the end of the game was just, I mean, I was on the edge of my seat. I couldn't really, like, you couldn't predict what was going to happen next.
Oh.
And then, everything unfolds and we get the dub. So if you want to kind of lead into it, we can get right into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, lineup wise, kind of as we talked about on the last podcast, no major surprises. I'm very happy to see Santiago Arias starting back on right back. Other than that, the lineup's the same, except, we do see Badji up top. Unfortunately, he goes out with an injury in the first half. So our speaking on him is a little bit limited, but at least going into it, I'm happy to see him in there in a physical matchup against Red Bulls in the style that they play. You need a big bodied striker up there to kind of battle with those guys. And I was happy to see Badji. I love that Pat sticks with the same lineup, same formations throughout all of this. They're familiar with it. Why change up what's been working all year?
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was a great lineup as well. I'm solid all the way through. Once again, for me, Arias being back is also huge on that right hand side to kind of solidify that spot. But once again, Badji being up top is definitely the right move over Santos. And then I really, to your point, with Pat really kind of sticking with his guns and going with the same thing that's been working is having Bupenza, kind of come off the bench, right?
Right.
And he's really seemed to make a difference coming off the bench more than starting. So it turned out to work eventually. Coming off the bench, kind of like you said, Badji, coming off with an injury. We can kind of get into that because I mean, personally, I didn't see anything worth noting the first 25 minutes of the game.
Yeah, no, not
There weren't
really.
any huge chances or anything. The one chance that I would like to point out, the reason I say 25 minutes in is because I think the first chance that we really did have was Badji's chance.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember who kind of gave him the ball, but he has a chance to go near post, and it's not really much of a chance though. He didn't have much of a chance to bring it down, settle it, or anything. It was just, hey, let's put off a shot because nobody was in the middle. There wasn't really anything
Sure.
else he could do with it.
Yeah, for Red Bulls playing at home, they're trying to feed off the energy of 500 people in the stands.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, the first impression I have is, man, this place is empty. There's no one in this stadium for this game, and typical Red Bull fashion. Like, it's funny, Sam, and I'm gonna shout out your dad on this because we're watching the game and your dad in his background of the camera work and whatnot goes, man, they're going to do some tight camera work tonight. They're really going to feed in on the five supporters that they have. And he was right. I mean, even early on, like it was very, very small frames. You see the Red Bull fans, you don't get the wide shots because they're trying to hide the fact that no one was there. But I was going to say just in the first 20, 25 minutes, you're a team that's playing a game down. You have to come out with a lot of energy, and they did push more in their fashion. Like they pressed more. We were still trying to kind of find our footing, I think, in a lot of that period, but you're right. I mean, we create one chance. Like I've always said, creating half chances, you got to be able to finish on them, especially as a striker. And, we don't end up doing that, but yeah, Sam, I didn't really see much when he goes down. I think what scares you in that sense is like a non-contact injury where he is down. And at first you're like, all right, man, like get up. We've seen Baji play through a lot of stuff, but he's also been out of a lot of games in the past 2 years. From my memory, he's been out for 4 or 5 week stretches in the past 2 years. So that kind of worries me longevity wise. But yeah, non-contact injury goes down. You see Bupenza put his jersey on and you're like, oh no, here we go. This can't be any worse. And then it does get worse, but that's okay.
Yeah, I think before we touch on, their goal, I want to touch on after Baji's injury, we actually show some life before, that the end of half there, that 37th minute, I believe. Vasquez has a phenomenal chance, and his header is right at the keeper.
He's got to do better with
that. To
be
honest, I think, I think it's a better save than it is a finish. To be fair, I thought that was a phenomenal save by the goalkeeper, right at him. I know, but I just thought it was a really good save. Vasquez obviously could have put it in the corners a little bit better, because he got up there and he wasn't contested. Is what I'm trying to get to. And
sure,
I think that would have been a huge goal for Vasquez, would have helped out his confidence, not only for the game, but for the rest of the playoffs here. Yeah, that was a huge chance.
I think that's a goal that, you mentioned, if he's in a good run of form, he puts it in. And from our team, from what I can remember, we haven't had a headed goal in a minute. It's been a little bit. Lucho's, yeah. And even that was a weird one. It wasn't like a set piece type one. So, you're right. I feel like he should have done better, but maybe there's like a point blank save. The guy just makes a reaction. You got to score in those opportunities on the road, especially though,
Oh yeah.
Putting that in early on, like we've said, is like scoring early. So then you don't have to get into the antics of Red Bulls, So leading to that 41st minute, Mascara is going to play a ball to clear it out. He goes to clear it, brings his leg up, and Barlow for New York goes in with a studs up challenge on kind of his upper ankle. And originally, it happened so fast, and I hate to say this, but Mascara goes down fairly easily sometimes when there's little contact. They show replays though, and it's a high challenge, Sam. It's on his ankle, studs up. It's late too. That's a pretty reckless challenge, in my opinion. At least you got to go to a review on that one.
Yeah, I thought. I'm thinking the same thing. It's as a referee, it's tough because it's a playoff game, right? So you don't want to give a red card to somebody and have it affect the game, and then as a referee, you just control the game, right?
Sure.
It's your game at that point. So could it have been a red card? Probably. In a regular season game or any game that didn't have the impact of a playoff game or an elimination game for Red Bulls.
Right.
I think there was a challenge later on in the game as well on Mascara where he literally took his sock off and was showing him like, hey, this is where he got me. Like the cleat got me in the ankle. So multiple times in the game where Mascara usually, like you said, he kind of goes down a little easy a lot of times, but looks like multiple times within the game, though, Red Bulls are trying to send a message to him, taking out his ankles. So, Barlow stays in the game, though.
Yeah, he stays in the game, and it's like, okay, you're already upset the fact that he only gets a yellow. And then to make things worse, 45th minute, you're thinking, all right, let's just get to halftime. Let's just keep it scoreless the way this has been going. And Sam, they come down the right side. They have a ball that they, I think, try to shoot, and it gets deflected around to the left side of the goal, around the 6-yard box. And I think Mascara tries to slide in to try to cover on a block. Did you see that as a part of the play?
So the goal that you're talking about, I think he may have. From my perspective, it all started with Murphy not clearing it. That's where it started.
That's
for
true.
me. So
I
if
think you're
Murphy
right.
clears that and he's fine, then that goal doesn't happen. I think OB got a foot on it, so
Mhm.
he wasn't able to fully clear it, which once again, he's kind of drawing back more towards the goal. So
Right.
I'll ease up on, the pressure on him a little bit. But as far as Murphy not clearing it, I thought Murphy played a phenomenal game. I believe he led the team in tackles with 5, led the team with in interceptions with 2. So like he played a phenomenal game in the back.
Mhm.
And then once again, it's just one mistake that it takes for you to kind of impact the game in a negative way.
Yep.
And Red Bulls scores off of a bunch of deflections, and Barlow's right there
Yeah.
in front of the goal. And I'll give a credit to Celentano though. He
You got a hand
almost
or
had
a leg
a
on it, right?
1v1 save,
Yeah.
point blank range.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he at least gets an effort on it. Because frankly, it's a shot right on the goalkeeper without anyone around him, essentially.
Yeah.
I don't know where Arias is on that play. I'll have to go back and look. I think he either gets pinched in too much into the middle to try to block the guy that's shooting, or he's caught up a little bit higher. But I think Mascara is left to try to make amends of what's going on there. Maybe
Yeah.
Arias should get himself in a better position on that play, but it's a bouncing ball. Those can kind of go either ways, but I think you're exactly right on the clearance and just getting that ball out of there. At that point, just clear it out. So yeah, Barlow scores. We're kind of upset at that point that this guy should be off the field, Sam. I mean, everyone was calling for it all over social media. Is like, how are you going to let this guy stay on after that? And then he scores in that fashion. And it's kind of interesting that there's other games in the MLS playoffs where a similar thing happens. And it kind of affects the game, like maybe in a different way, but I don't know if you saw Vancouver's game yesterday.
That was crazy.
The ref gets in the way and blocks the
Yeah.
player from getting the ball, which creates a goal chance, for LAFC. But yeah, it was just crazy. We go into half down 1-0, which at that point you're thinking, okay, man, we got to crawl out again. But in this second half of the year, how many times have we come back from those situations? I mean,
Too
I
many
was
times.
upset
Too many
and I was
times.
stressed, but Pat's always found a solution on creating an opportunity. And I don't know if it's necessarily Pat, but eventually what happens is just Lucho magic with Pupenza. But it's just incredible. I wish I had a stat on how many times in the second half of the year we've come back. I mean, it's been a lot, Sam. We've been playing behind way more than I feel comfortable with.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that was the key thing going into the playoffs that I didn't want to see. I didn't want to see us going down and having to come all the way back from, multiple goal deficits. At this point, only 1 goal. So not terrible, but
Right.
Once again, just not a position that we want to be, especially as the 1 seed in this, playoffs. But going into the second half, we did have some chances.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest chance coming out of half didn't come until 15 minutes after halftime. For me personally, 60th minute, you have kind of a jumble of the ball a little bit, and it falls to Obi. And Obi plays a phenomenal ball to Bupenza, who has a clear goal scoring opportunity.
Yeah.
He'll have a similar chance to this later in the game. And he just takes too much time on the ball. And once again, we've seen it a million times where he can't get it from under him to get a shot off in time. Defender catches up to him and deflects the shot away.
You think he learned from that situation, though, to kind of
Later in the
what
game,
happens
yeah,
later in the
absolutely.
game? Like, I mean, he definitely makes up for it, but you're right. I think both strikers get the ball caught under their feet way too much. Like,
They
it's
need
crazy.
to work on that first touch.
Yeah, it's nuts. And I hate to keep harping on this, but like going back to this whole Brandon Vasquez situation is like, how many times in the last 3 or 4 podcasts have we even called out Brandon Vasquez at all for doing anything positive for the team? I hate to say it, but he hasn't really done much. I would just need to see more from him, especially in these big moments.
Yeah, I think I don't want to say he makes up for what he, hasn't done. But he helps out. The chance after that, funny enough, is actually 15 minutes after that. And Vasquez actually, in my mind, it starts all with him. So I'm going to give him actually some credit here. He actually, the Red Bulls has a free kick, 74th minute. Vasquez jumps in front of the Red Bulls free kick. Extremely smart play. He's I guess further enough away to where it's not, the referee doesn't have a problem with it. Right. Jumps, deflects it. It goes straight to Lucho. Or I guess, no, it goes to
Bupenza
or Lucho.
Bupenza holds it up.
Bupenza.
Yep.
Bupenza holds it up, drops a defender, passes it to Lucho.
Back heels
drops
it.
a defender.
Back heels the ball.
Back heels it to Lucho. That was twice he back heeled it.
Yeah.
In this game to Lucho, but back heels it to Lucho. Lucho drops a guy, and then Lucho passes, nice little pass to him, gives him some time, and Bupenza this time doesn't waste any time, and he actually fires the shot into the bottom right-hand corner, tying up the game. I just thought that was a great sequence and a phenomenal finish.
You know what's underrated in the sequence? I'm thinking about like timing of like what I would have done if I was Bupenza, like as a former striker, hold the ball up, play it to your other guy next to you, spin around and make a run. He overlaps him well, sets himself up on his left foot. He has kind of a questionable touch around the goal to set himself up on his left foot, but an underrated part of this is how close the ball is to his foot for him to shoot it. I don't think the goalkeeper expected him to hit it when he did. Instead of a full stride with a shot, he does a little half stride. He kind of does a close touch and then whips it into the corner past the keeper, which honestly would throw me off timing wise. And I thought
I don't think
it was caught under his body, like too close in my opinion, but he puts it away and I'm not mad about it at all. But I don't know if you felt that way.
I don't think the ball expected it either, because he almost hits the post and it doesn't go in. Like
That's true.
It's got spin on it because once again he has to take that shot too early, right? Yeah. And he's got too much spin on it and almost hits the post and doesn't go in. But luckily, it kind of hits the inside netting, almost inside of the post there, and trickles in. So yeah,
like inch perfect though. I mean, like I don't know if he meant to do that on that little like half touch with it, but unbelievable. I was just waiting for a backflip. I wanted to see the backflip. We've seen it once this year, I think. We haven't. His Bupenza backflip count, I think, is standing at 1.
Nice little Bupenza tumble though. We got a tumble.
We got a tumble, yeah. And then all the players come over. I mean, it's cool to see that it means so much to him because of all this stuff that we've seen about him with the team. And kind of the question about if he apologized to the team or not after this international break. Kind of like he's funny, man. He'll really destroy any narratives you kind of set out. Winning the supporter shield essentially with his goal, bringing us back into this game with this one, like the dude's finding a knack to score, and like maybe the numbers aren't showing it. Or maybe the numbers are showing it, I should say, but on the field, it doesn't always look pretty. But hey, I mean, I'm not mad about it. I'm loving to see that at least his teammates are coming over. Lucho's coming over to him and like so pumped about it. Sam, I wanted to kind of touch on Lucho's assist on this goal. Plays him perfectly for a left-footed shot, but he's contributed now 4 of 6 goals in our playoff history. So contributions with 2 goals and 2 assists now in the 6 goals in the playoffs over the past 2 seasons. So again, just vital player for comeback, for killing a game off. I mean, he ends up making a penalty later on too. So he can do no wrong right now in my eyes.
Yeah, no kidding. He's showing up. He's the MVP for a reason.
Yeah, no kidding.
Scoring and assisting. He's definitely showed up. But in this 90th minute, going going into the 90th minute, we were 1-1, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we have two crucial chances during this 90th minute. First one is what I mentioned earlier, is the second Bupenza back heel to Lucho. And this time, Lucho hits a wide open Barreal on the left-hand side, who I think this was kind of a theme. It was like nobody could get the ball out from under their feet. And it looked like Barreal kind of rushed his shot, tried to put it near post. Pretty decent save by the goalkeeper. Unfortunately, when you do slow it down and you go back and watch the highlights, you could make a case that Vasquez was wide open there on
That's true.
That back post. Could have been a nice little low cross over to him, but
does his shot that forces the save though create the corner kick?
Yeah,
I think it does, right? So
yeah,
the second, I guess, moment Sam is referring to is a very controversial one. Like, I mean, emotions are flying at that point. You're tied 1-1. You likely are going to go to PKs because of the MLS rules, at least for this best of 3 series. Lucho comes over, takes this corner, puts it on a dime, like right where he needed to. I felt like my initial reaction is I didn't even see like what happens with it. And all of a sudden our players are running towards the corner. They go back and show replay. A couple things that you notice with it is Santos like on or next to the keeper. The second part is the ball bouncing up and potentially hitting his arm, but is it like already across the line at that point? Is he getting held by the keeper trying to make a play at the ball? There's a lot that's going on. Mascara's right there too. So initially, Sam, on the field, it looks like the main center referee points back to the spot to say, hey, this is a goal. And I love Lucho's energy going over to the corner once we score and yelling at some of the fans. Like, I'm not going to say it on here, but he said some things to those fans.
Yeah, hold your ears, kids. Hold your ears.
Hold your ears there. But yeah, I mean, they were obviously saying stuff to them, and they go over to the corner to celebrate. They think it's a goal. And then out of like nowhere, I mean, I think even the Apple broadcast comes up with goal FC Cincinnati. You're thinking, man, 90th minute, we scored, we win, we're on to the next round. And then all of a sudden it's like, no goal. And like, there's no VAR that is mentioned. They don't really like say anything. They're like, oh, I guess it's this. Like, essentially, don't they? I'm pretty sure the broadcast says like, oh, there must have been, a handball called. Like, they're kind of unsure too.
So the broadcast finally got an official ruling on it. And so that was my, like, when I was texting, I was texting a couple other people, they were like, oh, like there was a confusion on whether or not it was a foul or a handball or anything like that. They officially called it a foul on the goalkeeper. So there was some contact there, but Cornell, to be honest with you, if you go back and you watch slow-mo, which once again, if you had VAR, you'd be able to do.
Right.
He sold it pretty well, throwing himself into the back of the net. So
yeah.
Do with that
and
what
they call it a goal on the field, which later, some of our, reporters, I think it was Pat Brennan that actually asked the question, hey, what was the official ruling on this? And MLS says, on the field, it was confirmed that it was a foul. Correct, I think, right? And then like it was like a review or something to overturn it, I believe. Is that what had happened? Or they, I guess, didn't rule that he points to the spot.
It was. Yeah.
Yeah. Which
I think I heard the same thing.
Is a total lie, because he does point to the spot. And I mean, at that point, you have to go and do a formalized review. If you called it a goal on the field, like you have to overturn that if you have evidence of a foul or something. So they just basically like changed their narrative to make it make sense, but it was still super confusing. Which I don't think a lot of people are looking at super confusing. Moment. What'd you say?
No, yeah.
I was going to say, I don't think a lot of people are looking at what happens next, because they kick the ball off and he blows the whistle and we're going to PKs. But if you look at what happens right in that moment, all of our players crowd around the ref and are asking like, what's going on? Like, they want clarification. Like, you just called a goal. We're all celebrating. You didn't review anything. So were you pointing to say there's a foul? Like, we're legitimately asking for clarification, and Matt Miazga gets his yellow card. That's when he gets his first yellow. And it's in that moment
after the final whistle,
in that moment of
trying
to ask
officially
for
a 9th minute of extra time.
Yeah. In the moment of I'm trying to get clarification to what you called, that's when they give him the yellow, which, I mean, Matt was talking the whole game and was, I mean, all over him. And I guess if he's crowding you, but they're all there, like, why him of all of them? But to me, it's like, how are you going to say you're going to give him a card for that because they wanted clarification on what the call was made on the field? I mean, that's ridiculous. And if it wasn't formally given to Lucho, or he didn't understand it, then Matt's the next person that wants to know. So, then we go into PKs, and I think I was just frustrated because, like, I thought we had won it, and everything kind of pointed to that. So I'm feeling kind of uneasy. And Sam, I don't know how you feel about Roman in goal for PKs. He really hasn't had a lot of experience this year in those situations.
No, Roman's not your guy to pick if you're going into PKs. Great keeper, young keeper, not your guy for PKs.
Yeah, unfortunately. And so we get into it, and PKs start out pretty well. Lucho buries it right away, and I'm feeling good about that. Kubo has a good one as well. But to me, what stands out more is like how ridiculously bad Roman was at guessing. Like, it was almost like he would delay his guess and then jump instead of.
Yeah, well, after the first one, it got bad. The first one was the best one.
First one was the best. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
but after
the rest
that,
of them
it's like
were.
you just got to guess. And I mean, you see the New York guy does it, and he gets close on like Santos's one where he actually gets a hand on it, and it ends up going in, luckily for us. But he's got to be better at just guessing aside and going for it. Like, you can't delay in your response to that.
I didn't appreciate that Arias has probably arguably the most veteran leadership and experience out of anybody on this team, and should know big games because he's played in Europe for I don't know how many years.
Right.
And the guy has the worst penalty out of anybody on FC Cincinnati's team.
Yeah. I want to give like more credit to Arias because at that point he's playing through like a questionable foul in the second half, which we didn't really touch on, but I want to just make a quick point to the fact that this guy hits Arias and he does like a flip on the field. And
that is true.
I don't think the guy gets a card on that. And it's just a ridiculously dangerous play. So Arias is kind of shook up from that. That's, again, no excuse for just kicking the ball and having a terrible PK. But, I mean, maybe that plays into it. Sam, I don't know. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt on that. So, yeah, Arias is our first guy to miss. I mean, at that point, Roman doesn't look good. Their keeper looks pretty decent. And it all comes down to John Tolkien. The guy with the terrible, terrible haircut in this game. Did you see his hair?
Yeah, it's
it's
New York, right? He's expressing himself.
Cut, like, I don't even know, man. Tight fade, but like it was really bad. And of course it's him. You're thinking like, all right, this guy's gonna finish it, right? This clutch player that they were, making him out to be, and he just bangs the post. Just completely hits the post, which a lot of times it can bounce anywhere. I'm so happy it just bounced right back at him.
Celentano's best friend is the post. I mean, if you recall what happened in the Inter Miami game,
it's true.
Same thing. Celentano's best friend during these, insane moments are like is the post in the woodwork. Like it helps him out like no other. But after that, you see Miazga make his directly after that. Miazga makes his. He starts blowing kisses, starts clapping at the Red Bulls fans, and he earns himself another yellow card. Which,
in the moment, I'm thinking, what are you doing? Like, I know you're maybe trying to be genuine and say like all love, like don't hate on me, like
not the right time.
I'm from here. I used to play for you guys. Like, don't hate me. But like, you're right. Why in that moment go over to them and stay in the box? Like, once you kick it, don't chirp, just go back to your spot. and he's got to be better. He's
Yeah,
got to
and
be a better leader about that.
then you have Yerson that gets his saved, and then now we're down again, and we're like, oh geez, here we go. Like
Oh, I
Celentano's
was
gonna make a
in
save, and
shambles.
then Red Bull's 18-year-old kid, biggest moment in his career so far, skies
Yeah.
it over the bar. I felt bad for him. I really did, because the kid's got a lot of promise. Literally
Yeah.
just came back to the squad after not playing for almost the full season,
hmm
and does that. But then you got Moreno, who puts it away, phenomenal. And
Very poised
to cap it
PK, by the
off,
way.
pretty dang good, pretty dang good. And then to cap it off, you got Celentano finally saves a PK, and he saves it doing two celebrations, the Jordan shrug and then the all ears celebration. I love that he transitioned into two. And
Yeah.
then there was just pandemonium, right?
Yeah.
Um,
We'll get in. I want to talk about it on the second part of the pod here, touching on the celebration part of things, because there's a big point of contention about that. So, stay tuned in the second half of the episode. We'll kind of walk through our thoughts on that. But for me, I mean, I was in shambles, Sam, just like going through all the emotions of we're going to lose this two different times, and then Roman makes the save. I mean, I audibly let out a gasp. Like we were at Aces
yeah,
Pickleball, shout out Aces Pickleball in Norwood, playing there, but we all stopped to watch. Everyone in the building was watching and everyone was going crazy. So just a cool atmosphere. I saw a lot of videos of people at different bars. Molly Malone was going crazy too. So everyone was pumped, but just definitely went through a roller coaster of emotions. But like I said, we'll
yeah.
kind of touch on our instant reactions on that in the second half of the pod.
Yeah, so to kind of transition, we'll do a trivia of the week, and then we'll cut to a break here. But trivia of the week, Ryan, is going to be FC Cincinnati has played the Red Bulls the most out of any MLS team in their history now. And I want to know, if you know, how many times has FC Cincinnati played the Red Bulls? And then you'll get bonus points for if you can tell me what the record is.
Does USL count or only in the MLS?
Only MLS.
Only in the MLS. We played them 5 times this year. I'm going to say 10 times that we've played them.
10 times. He's locking it in. We're going 10, and we'll see what the answer is after the break.
So Agility is a technology-driven soccer training facility. So we offer 6 facets of training. That would be Tech Touch with ball launchers that work on your first touch, the TSZ, which is the ESA equipment and working on decision making. We also have a circuit. Circuit training would be taking the ESA equipment to the next level. It's kind of like a soccer obstacle course. Then we offer neuroscience training with our reflection tools, working on processing things a little bit faster, hand-eye coordination and such. We offer skills classes, which is your typical core skills training. Lots of people still enjoy that, so we work on a lot of attacking 1v1 skills. And then we also offer athlete development. So our athletes come here and they work on speed, agility, quickness, explosive movements, really just learning how to move and function a little bit better as an athlete.
Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for listening to our sponsor. Sam, I wanted to kind of, again, circle around back to this ending of this game, because frankly, like, it was kind of ridiculous, in my opinion, how the PKs even ended up down on the supporter side for Red Bulls. Like, I don't know if you saw this or not, but instead of having a coin flip for which side, you hear the MLS, the ref for this game says, oh, the MLS decided that we're going to be down on the Red Bull supporter side. Like, don't get mad at me. And Lucha's like, what the heck? Like, why was this not like told to me? It almost seemed like to me like they weren't told about it. So I was a little upset about that, and looking back at that part of things. And then with how things transpired, we ended up winning. We're celebrating down on that side. Our players kind of embellish a little bit and are, yelling, screaming, making gestures towards the fans, and subsequently get stuff thrown at them, which, I mean, Pat Noonan is right. Like, if you celebrate that way, like, get expected, to have stuff thrown at you. So I don't know how I feel about that. I'm kind of back and forth. It's never good to throw anything at the players, but sometimes the way that you go about winning in those scenarios, like, I don't know.
I think it's stupid. I think the Red Bulls fans throwing things at our players, I don't think it's cool. I think as fans, right? Even if it was fan to fan, you have to show some class, right? There comes to a point where like if somebody wants to celebrate however they want, they can celebrate however they want because they want. Like
Right.
that's the reason they're able to do that. If you were to celebrate, you could celebrate however you want. If you have a problem with it, win. Like that's the easiest cure right
Sure.
there, is to just win. I mean, don't get mad at FC Cincinnati for celebrating the way they wanted to celebrate. And to be fair, you've been giving them crap the whole season, and they were sick of it, and they wanted to see you go, see you leave, bye, no more season for you. And that's how they reacted. So I'm not mad at FC for reacting in the way they did. I don't think any actions warrant anything as far as, oh, well, they celebrated this way, so we got to throw stuff at them. That's not how that works. So,
You know what's crazy to me though, Sam? Like, it's a huge market like New York is, and like the attention could be said like that. It's a bigger like network, and I don't know what I guess getting at here is just that, like, if it was in front of the Bailey that they were to celebrate if they beat us in PKs and we throw things, like, that makes news around the world. But, New York Red Bulls fans throw stuff at us, and, our local Cincinnati guy gets a video of it. Somebody in the New York section gets a video of it, and you get like some reaction, but like not a ton. It just seems like there's a double standard on this. And I just think it's kind of ridiculous in my opinion, but.
Well, I think part of it is the two cities, like New York being bigger than Cincinnati. I think nobody wants to show David beating Goliath, right? I think that has a hand in it, because to your point, if New York Red Bulls were to win, they'd be showing it a lot more often. Whereas FC Cincinnati wins and there's hardly any supporters there, and they don't really want to show that, as well as David beats the Goliath, right? So city against city, not necessarily team against team. That has something to do with it as well.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. All in all, though, I mean, that was our 11th match that we've ever had at Red Bulls Arena, and I can't remember like the last time we lost there, maybe a couple years ago, but we've done pretty well. I mean, the next highest place we played at is Atlanta. Go ahead.
Well, to answer your question, FC Cincinnati is unbeaten against the Red Bulls at Red Bull Arena.
Oh, wow.
Since March 1st, 2020.
Dang, that's impressive. I mean, to keep winning in a half-filled stadium, I guess, right? Shout out to our supporters. I mean, Auxilla One, the supporters group based out in New York, showed up. They were loud. I could hear them a little bit on the TV broadcast, but at the end of the game, the players go over and celebrate in that kind of direction to celebrate with them, which was cool. Sam, this was kind of a cool stat that I saw. FC Cincinnati is now tied for third in the MLS, I guess, history of all time for most wins in a single season, including all competitions, with 26 wins now, I believe, in a single season, and the highest is 29. So if we get, a couple more wins here, we could tie the record for most wins in a season.
Just like all competitions or
all comps. Yeah. So including like, I think Open Cup, and I don't know if Leagues Cup counted towards that. I think it might have as well, but it's pretty impressive. I mean, for all the games we've had, I think 44 in total, because Barrial's played in every single game. Another fun fact, he's been in every single game this year. Incredible. Mm-hmm. But what a stat, though. I mean, that's over half your games that we've won, and I think tied like a decent amount too. So that's just impressive. And I think this is the first time that Romans actually won a PK shootout too.
I believe so as well. That's a great transition for my jersey swap of the week being Celentano. He had some crucial saves in this game, 2 saves on 3 shots on target, and then saved that last PK at the end of the game. I think for me personally, he strictly gets my jersey swap for the celebrations at the end. I mean, if it weren't for those celebrations, I don't know if he's getting it, but since he pulled out the shrug, pulls out the all ear celebration, really gives it to the Red Bulls fans, he gets my jersey swap of the week for sure.
Oh, I love that. I would love a keeper kit from FC. I don't have one of those yet, so that would be pretty cool.
I think you want that. You want a black one. You seem to want a black FC kit. So
that would be cool.
If we could get a black keeper kit for Ryan, anybody out there, just send it.
Christmas
send it
is
our way.
Coming up, Sam. Yeah, no, great shout for jersey swap. I real quickly just wanted to say, I don't know how you feel about a substitution at the end of the game to put Can in for Celentano in the future.
I think we do that if our butts are on the line, right? Our butts were not on the line for this game. We didn't have to win this game, right? If we had to win a game, I'd definitely choose Khan. But I think this helps Celentano. I think all in all, leaving him in there, he wins the PKs. Now, does he get some help from the post? Yes, he does. But he wins the PKs for us. I think it gives him a little bit more confidence and a little bit more to work on with PKs. The only way to get better at PKs is to do them more, right? Is to see that, be in that scenario. So I think all in all, I think this scenario was perfect for Celentano. However, for something like the next round where it's single elimination, I'd like to probably go to Khan because he has done that for us this year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You said like a must-win game. For me, I didn't want to go back home and play a third game. So like this was kind of our like, but I get your backstop. We would have had a third game.
I don't think anybody I don't think anybody wanted to go back home and play a third game. I'm just saying that, it was the option, right? So we didn't have to win it. But that's all I'm saying. I wanted to win this game. I want to win every game. I want to sweep the playoffs.
Right. Absolutely. But my jersey swap was Bupenza. For coming into the game in the 35th minute, I mean, you're not really prepared to play at that moment. You had been used to coming in the second half, but you have to be prepared. As a striker, you always have to be ready to score and be in that mindset to score. So for him to come in, and as you alluded to in the first part of the pod, I mean, he had another chance and doesn't quite get it right, but he makes amends for that. And for me, that's what I want to see is the growth of, him playing with our other players now. I think this is now his 6th goal in all comps, although I don't think he played in any of the tournament games. So 6th goal though in the MLS in a shorter amount of time. His put in some awesome goals for us in big moments. Again, going back to Supporter Shield, going to this game too. I believe he does make his penalty kick as well. So, good to see and probably builds confidence too going forward. And to be honest with you, we're going to have to probably rely on him a little bit more. So being the way that this game ended, I'm happy with hopefully where Bupenza is at, but hey, guess what, Sam? There's an international break coming up. So who knows if we'll get him back in a proper amount of time.
Yeah. We'll touch on that. But as far as Bupenza, to your point, I think the biggest thing that stands out for me is the fact that it took him a while. So the second half, he scores the goal, but coming on in that 33rd minute, something around there,
35th
for Baji, having to bring the energy, and he was a part of multiple chances. And once again, he kind of just needs a little bit of being on the field, getting accustomed to the movement of what's going on to be able to contribute. But I thought he played a phenomenal game. And once again, we're not on to the next round of the playoffs, possibly without his goal right there. So shout out to Bupenza.
Yeah, absolutely. Just hope to see that we create more chances now, like moving forward with Vasquez and Boop as a partnership. I don't know how long we're going to see this partnership last because of the future, but that's down the road, Sam. We're still in the playoffs. We still got some games to win. Kind of on the flip side, though, I'm curious to hear your cards of the week or card.
Yeah. So,
potentially.
yeah. Card of the week is going to be Miazga's double yellows. So first of all, he's the captain of our back line, and he's a vocal leader of the team. He's got to know better. He's got to be better than that. I said, I understand he's fired up because he's playing his former team. But I'm more upset on the first yellow. I really am. I'm more upset on the first yellow than the second. The first 90 was done. They blew the whistle onto PKs. You got to be a leader there and get your guys ready for the bigger moment. You got to move on. You really do. To your point, yeah, they needed explanation, but you got to be better than that. That's for the coach to kind of argue with the fourth official there. His second yellow, pretty laughable. Still, the intent is to taunt. He made the PK, so he showed him up. You got to show him up with your play. Like you made the PK, show him up with that. But back to it being a double yellow, though, cautions received during a shootout do not apply towards, the match. So Miazga was not shown a red card. That's why. However, because of his yellow during the first match, he picks up 3 yellow cards, and that's why he's suspended for the next game. So the second round, nation, we're already down a center back. We can't do this, Miazga.
He's got to be better, man. I 100% agree with everything you said. Especially as the potential MLS defender of the year. And you're like going to go out in that fashion potentially. Like, I think we'll probably appeal it and we'll see how that goes. I've not really seen appeals work in those situations, but why put yourself even in that scenario? It's almost like, Sam, if you're in the fourth quarter, and you're going down the field and you don't have a timeout, or in basketball, you run out of timeouts and you try to call one and then you get a technical. It's the same idea. It's like, come on, dude, know where you're at, know the situation.
Yeah.
Situational awareness, like that he's got to understand, like playing in so many different league settings. Like maybe he's not used to a tournament style because of these crazy rules and stuff, but still, if you're going to play the game and play for our team and in this scenario and in these playoffs, understand the rules, understand, like, you can't be making dumb plays like that. And I think he just loses his head. And like, is that a failure of Lucho to like push him out of the way, in the 90th minute? I almost want Lucho to be the one that talks to the ref and to say, look, I know you're already on a card. Like, let me talk to him. Let me be the voice, and you need to back off. But if you look in the huddles before the games start, Miazga is the ones that is talking to the team. Lucho will say like, vamos, like, let's do it. But like, I think Miazga is the one that like lays into people. So, he really stands out as a vocal leader, and his actions have to show that, like you are saying, for the entire team. So, I agree with you. But my card of the week, I'm going to do a yellow card here again, just for no explanation of the VAR at the end of the game. They kind of seem to be making up rules now with the coin toss as well. And if that was a thing beforehand, like, why can't we find a rule about this? And even if it was, like, was it explained to the team? I never got an answer of that. So, I would hope that the same would go for, if we were in that scenario, they'd put it at the Bailey. But Leagues Cup, we get knocked out because it's at the opposite end, right? For PKs. I believe Open Cup, same thing, is on the opposite end. How much of a difference would it have been if it was in front of the Bailey? And they're trying to create like this atmosphere, and they have the cameras set up around the supporters, because frankly, if you do it on the other side of the stadium, there's no one there. And to me, that just goes back on the Red Bulls not having fans. And that's even more of another card in itself. So I kind of tied that back into them and their fans, but it just seems like there's loss of like any sort of like cohesion in the MLS in the playoffs as to what is a rule in this scenario? What's not? Are we using VAR? Are we not using VAR? Like there's just a lot of things that it just frankly seems to be up in the air.
If you're the MLS, I know this is going to be a very controversial take. If you're the MLS and you have so many problems with trying to figure out how do we do playoffs the right way, do you even have the playoffs? Does it
Dude,
even
that's what
matter?
we're saying the whole time. It seems like a reoccurring theme that like the more and more we move on and get through it, like the more and more loopholes we find or things that like should have been told to us that aren't, or like not explained. So does that even make it a valid tournament? The rules have been made this year for it, different than the years in the past. Yeah, Sam, you make a good point. Do we just scratch this thing and do Leagues Cup at the end of the year?
No other league in the world has what we have.
Yeah.
Why
Man, we could go
why change what they're doing?
We should go all off season on, we have Messi now. You're bringing in all these other international players. They don't know what this tournament style crap is. You know what I mean? They're not used to this. They're like, a tournament now decides which team wins the league. Like, what? I don't know. It's strange. It's very strange. And I think in the offseason, that'll be a good point of what rules need to be changed in the MLS, whether that be financial rules, playoff rules, tournament rules, the amount of games that the players are playing in. I mean, there's a lot to talk about, but Sam, our season's not over, man. We got another couple games to win, and I'm really pumped about it. It's just my reaction is a little dulled. We have 3 weeks now until the next game. So we've made the Eastern Conference semifinals against possibly New England or Philadelphia. They still haven't announced the dates of the game yet, but potentially the 25th or the 26th. We're still not sure. It's just kind of ridiculous to me how they don't even have the schedule set. You don't really even know, like, how do you set it, especially after Thanksgiving, like, and that weekend being so busy, like, there's a lot going on.
MLS,
people are trying to make plans. Like,
the MLS doesn't even care about their playoffs. That's what it sounds like to me. Like,
no,
that them not being, oh, well, maybe it's this date or this date. I don't know. And we're gonna take a break because of international break. We're in the middle of the playoffs, but that doesn't really matter. So international break, you like go play for your teams when we don't have a World Cup for another 3 years.
Right.
Like,
yeah, it's
come
bizarre.
on, it's a joke.
The only thing that I can think
of
is, New England is still in this technically versus Philly right now. They're down 1 game. And that game, I believe, is tomorrow night. But if New England ends up coming back and they have a 3rd game and they win, does the game matter if it's Saturday or Sunday if the Patriots are also, in the fold? But now the more I think of it, it's not a 3-game series. It would be at our stadium. We already know where it's going to be held. Why can't you decide on what day it's going to be? Are they trying to get the market in New England to only focus on, the soccer game instead of the football game on Sunday and having both at the same time? I don't know. It's just bizarre. It's super.
I think regardless, you pick
weird.
the Saturday. You pick the Saturday because that's the right thing to do. Nobody wants to watch soccer on a Sunday.
Competing with the NFL and yeah,
exactly. In all honesty, nobody wants to watch soccer on a Sunday. I'll watch it on a Saturday, right? I'm more inclined to watch on Saturday than I am Sunday as just a fan of MLS, right? Obviously, I'm going to be watching whenever FC Cincinnati plays. But I think that's absolutely ridiculous. And I want to ask you a question, though. So with us possibly playing, I know we're going to probably talk about it for the next week, 2 weeks, but until we know who we're going to play, who would you rather have?
Yeah, I think we'll really dive into this, like you said, in the next couple of weeks. But I honestly feel like New England's beaten down. Like Carlos Gil is like injured, and it would be incredible for them to come back. I would love to see New England, and especially because we'd only have 1 game to play, and they're used to playing on turf. And the way that they've lost their coach and stuff like that. I mean, that's the obvious choice, but it's a Philly team that we're familiar with, and I'm a little scared because of their roster and stuff and the way that they've played and how they beat New England. But look at our track record against them, and you can't argue against that. I honestly, I just want to see the game already, to be honest. I mean, I don't want to wait all these weeks for it, and it could go either way, in my opinion. What about you?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you to the point where I could go either one, but if I got to choose one, I mean, I was looking at the results of, from this past regular season, and funny enough, New England seemed to kind of have our number this year more than any other team.
Yeah.
They're the only team that we played twice that we drew against both times.
Mm-hmm.
I think one was a 1-1 draw and the other one was a 2-2 draw.
Right.
Whereas with Philly, we drew the first time and won the second time. So, I also think Philly, I mean, I don't want to stir anything up, or if they end up winning, I don't want to help them out. But a lot of their guys are already leaving. They've already announced that they're leaving after the end of the season. So my guess is they would be playing, not as inspired as we would. So maybe that, gives us a favorable matchup. I don't know, but I definitely think, to go back to the beginning of the podcast, us after this game having a whole bunch of injuries, this random international break turns out, unfortunately, to be a blessing in disguise.
It's a blessing
for FC Cincinnati, as we still have 3 guys that could recover by the time we play next.
Yeah, man. The joke that I've heard is this break between the games is so long that Hagelin could have surgery and still come back. No, I mean, 3 weeks is not enough for that. But yeah, I mean, Baji picks up a knock. It sounds muscular, in 3 weeks. He has a potential, in my opinion, to be a sub. I think you start Bupenza. Baji would be a kind of a question mark in the sense of how much he would play, and you already have Santos, although I don't trust Santos, but still, you have another backup there. I'm interested to see the appeal that happens for Miazga's yellow. That's the other thing I wanted to touch on. But man, Sam, Obi getting an injury in the second half, potentially. I think he gets stepped on in about the
he was limping a little bit.
65th minute. He comes out with a foot injury. I think honestly is more of a precaution than anything, from what I've heard, is, hey, we're grinding it down. We have Kubo to bring in, and you lose Obi and you lose your heart and your defense there. But at that point, we're looking for more offense at that point, and you're trying to prepare for possibly a third game even. So 3 weeks for me and for that situation, I think isn't going to be a problem. Obi always finds a way to get back on the field. And again, I think next week will be a good kind of update where we can look at the health of the players. We can talk a little bit more about previews coming up, and even talk about some of the playoff games that, we'll see. Because I guess the only nice part about these MLS playoffs is how they've spaced them out, where you always have soccer, every single night for, I think, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You don't have Thursday, Friday, but at least you have multiple games going. That is the only positive that I've seen, at least out of this first round.
If you're going to give it anything.
Yeah. Overall, man, I'm just happy we're moving on. We took some beatings in terms of players being injured. But ultimately, I think we'll come out fairly unscathed. It'll be fun to see us, in a semifinal again. We were there last year, and if we play Philly again, use that as a point of we've been here. Let's knock them out now. Now's our time to do that. So I'm excited for that. But Sam, let's hear your trivia question and answer.
Yeah. So from earlier in the pod, trivia of the week was FC Cincinnati has played the Red Bulls the most out of any MLS team in their history. And I asked Ryan, how many times has FC Cincinnati played Red Bulls? Gave him bonus points for if he could get the record right as well. But how many times has FCC played the Red Bulls? It was 15 games.
Whoa.
They've played Red Bulls 15 games. The funny reason why I chose this trivia of the week, though, is because in those games, we are 5, 5, and 5.
Holy crap. I mean, that's a rivalry if I've seen it, and maybe these Nashville fans are
Fives
going to be
across the
upset
board.
about this, but that's more of a rivalry if you play them that many times and it's that equal, versus Nashville that's trying to create this rivalry with us. But you can tell there's blood for these two teams against each other. I mean, the heat was on in this game.
Yeah, unfortunately, when you drink Red Bulls, it also gives you an L along with the wings. So
we're gonna end the show on that, Sam. I love that. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll be back next week chatting again about previews coming up, hopefully some health of our FC players, and recapping again the playoff games. But thanks again for listening. We'll see you next week.
Woo!